What's going on, my Jack brother? Coach Scott here. In today's video, we're going to talk about the best way to transition from a cutting phase to maintenance to muscle building. I'm going to bring on one of my coaching clients, Jeff, who's going to share what he's learned through his experiences of going through this process with me. Jeff lost nearly 60 pounds going through a 7-month cutting phase. Finishing weight was right around 169 pounds. He's 42 years young, just under 5'11", and we've been in muscle building mode for the past 4 months. Really excited to share his experiences with you here today. Let's get to it. Hi, Jeff. So you ended your cut right around 2,000 calories, approximately, give or take here and there. You were dropping about a pound per week, and you were curious, like how was this transition going to work, shifting to maintenance, then muscle building mode? You were wondering if we're going to take a gradual approach, but my approach that I prefer is to try to get up as close to maintenance level calories as we can. It's a guesstimation. I'd rather start just a little bit below where I think your maintenance may be. So 2,000 calories where you finished up. I think I bumped you up to around 2,650 or something like that. Yeah. Right. So between 2,600, 2,700 calories, knowing that you're dropping a pound per week, roughly 2,000 calories. That's probably a good spot for you to kind of find where your maintenance was at. And then we just slowly started bumping it up. Like right now you're at between 31 and 3,200 calories in a gentle surplus right now, gaining, I'd say, roughly about a pound per month kind of thing right now. So really curious to hear what some of the lessons that you have learned throughout this process of shifting from fat loss to maintenance to muscle building.
Oh, that's a fantastic question. When I finished the cut, exactly like what you were saying, I finished around 2,000 to 2,100 calorie, and we quickly transitioned to a higher calorie amount. And I immediately noticed, gain in strength. I felt a lot better. I didn't really feel that diet fatigue that I felt like was plaguing me a little bit because I'd been cutting for such a long time. I just felt a little bit sluggish. And I was really excited to make that transition because I felt like, my performance was lagging a little bit from the end of the cut. And so after I had finished that, the reason why I was asking so many questions and why your guidance was so instrumental at that point was because it's difficult to kind of get from a cutting mindset to a maintenance mindset and finally to a muscle building mindset. They're a little bit different. I think in general, dropping weight is a little bit easier, shredding the fat. As long as you're in a calorie deficit, you can kind of see that come off. Finding maintenance psychologically is challenging because you're so used to being in a deficit. I was really scared of overeating. I was worried that, I would, see the scale weight change and maybe I'm getting fat again. And I know a lot of people go through that type of, difficulty when transitioning. But what was really helpful was when you kind of walked me through the process. You told me as soon as you start increasing the calorie, your scale weight's going to jump up, right? And that's because your muscle glycogen is filling back up, your more food volume in your body. And that was really, really helpful. And then also, I think one thing that helped a lot was realizing that you're going to have fluctuations in your scale weight, right? That's so normal part of the process. And we know roughly 3,500 calories is equal to a pound of fat. I'm not eating in excess of 3,500 calories a day to be able to justify, that weight gain as being fat. And so that was really, important for me to recognize. And as you mentioned, right now I'm in a gentle calorie surplus. I feel training has been really on point. The strength has been fantastic. I think progress has been, going really well. So I'm really, enjoying the whole entire journey.
That's freaking. You've touched on a lot of points that I think we'll expand on here. That's the one thing with one-on-one coaching clients, especially. When we do see those weight spikes, we do tend to have a lot of conversations about bowel movements and time of day that you're weighing yourself, like depending on your work schedule and everything. Sometimes you're getting up a little bit earlier, and so food hasn't fully digested in your system, and all different factors that come into play: stress levels, sleep, all that stuff. So it is great to the weight. It's a tool. It's just one thing that we use to observe our progress. And you really do have to detach emotion from the experience and really look at the trends overall. It's kind of nice when you can kind of get that line going when you kind of take away all the ups and downs. You just see, all right, it's a pretty steady trend upwards if you really block out the up and down there along the way. So detaching emotion from the experience, trusting the process is a big thing. But one thing that you've been doing a lot of throughout this process is taking progress photos, taking progress videos. And again, that helps to kind of gauge the progress. And again, it's helpful to use a variety of tools and have other eyeballs to help you in your decision process. Because like you said, you see a spike in weight and you're like, oh man, did I gain fat? Then you look at your pictures and like, oh man, I'm looking lean. But then sometimes you look at yourself in the mirror or you look at yourself in the pictures like, man, I think I'm looking a little bit softer than I was before. And then I'm like looking at both pictures like, I can't see a difference there. So it's always helpful to have a critical eye there. But what's that experience been for you, using like the videos and the pictures to kind of monitor your progress over time here?
Yeah, I think having, multiple metrics is really key and important, because you can only get so much information from the scale weight, right? Like, are you gaining strength? Are you still maintaining a certain level of leanness? But I think what's also, something that I've learned throughout this process is not to overdo it. I don't want to be taking progress pictures every single day, because there's going to be fluctuations and you don't want to overanalyze it and add stress to the process. And, for a little while, I was doing that. I would look at myself in the mirror and be like, do I look bigger? Do I look smaller? But on a day-to-day basis, nothing noticeable is really happening. So what I've been doing is I've been taking progress pictures, in a consistent position, consistent lighting, without a pump, without working out. And that's been really helpful, because looking back from 2 weeks to a month to 6 weeks, you can really start to see, little changes that otherwise you wouldn't be able to capture by looking at yourself on a day-to-day basis. So that's been really important. And also, I found that taking pictures, can still be deceiving, because it depends a little bit still on the lighting, how far you're away from the camera, and so forth. So I've also incorporated, some posing routines, right, that allows me to see a little bit better what's going on. And those have been really helpful tools, along with other metrics as well that I've been using, such as strength changes, energy level. So those are things I do pay attention to, in addition to what you just mentioned.
So let's say it's like from 2,600 calories. Let's kind of walk them through the process of getting up to like almost 3,200 calories there. So we were just making subtle changes. Once we saw like, all right, 2,650, or this is still, we knew it was still not quite maintenance for you. But we allowed you to kind of sit there for a couple of weeks, see how your body responds. It's not like a couple of days, you're like, all right, nothing's going on. Let's bump it up. So share what that process has been like, about just kind of doing a subtle from there, because it's probably the process which you thought we were going to do from the beginning, like right off the gate, start slow and steady. But I like to get as close to maintenance. And then from there, it's all right, let's bump it up 100. But it's not making drastic changes, and it's not making changes every week kind of thing. So what's it been like for you to kind of trust the process there as well?
It's so important, because I think doing anything, especially on this type of transformation journey, it has to be sustainable. I think the slow and steady approach, was really key, right? So, I can only imagine like what type of results we would have gotten if we just jumped right into, for example, a surplus. So taking the slow and steady approach was really impactful for me, because it allowed my body to kind of get used to how much I was eating, have a better idea using data, right? My scale weight, for instance, over a longer period of time, and not making decisions of increasing or bumping up the calories based on emotion. Because sometimes you look at it, when I was at around 2,600, I was still slowly losing a little bit of weight, and kind of bumping it up, as you said, by 100 every so often helped, because it allowed me to learn more about my body as well, how I responded to more food volume, more food. And I think that way really, really worked well. It allowed me to make that gradual transition to finding what my maintenance level was, and using that information to guide the next move, which is, not to overdo and go too far above my maintenance calorie levels, because the goal right now is to build as much lean mass as possible and not to put on just fat, right? So yeah, like that slow transition was really, really helpful throughout the whole process.
Again, such important points. Like we're in this for the long term here. Like, I don't want you gaining weight rapidly and like just a few months into this going, all right, it's time to cut. I'm just not happy with how I'm looking or feeling at this point. let's get back to a cut here. Like I want you to like really build upon this and enjoy it for the long term, especially coming off a longer cutting phase there. So it is, I love the slow and steady process. I love the learning experience. Like it's been valuable in the sense of you kind of exploring, like finding where your true maintenance level is and embracing like it almost becomes a bit more of a set point and a bit more of a lifestyle for you. You really
Right.
get to experience rather than going from cut cut to bulk. You never really kind of find that place where like, oh, this is where I can sustain and hang out for a long time. Like this is what a lifestyle is. Rather than the up and down lifestyle, it's a nice consistent lifestyle there.
Yeah, I love your philosophy of being able to build for longer durations of time rather than bulking and cutting and bulking and cutting, which people really do too often, and you're not spending enough time putting on that quality muscle. And so yeah, we don't need that many like extra calories to build muscle. I think the small surplus has been really instrumental in that process because I'm starting to embrace and understand why more isn't necessarily better, right? We just want to provide that calorie surplus, this nice anabolic state where we can build muscle. And like I really enjoy it. I enjoy being able to like stretch out that process, for instance, over months rather than shortcuts and short bulks, and that's been really great.
In regards to strength and energy, did you notice a difference between like once we got you up to 2,600 calories, you notice a difference there? Is there much a difference between how you're feeling, performing, say 2,800, 2,900 calories compared to like 31 to 3,200 calories?
I felt like I felt less hungry because I think at around 2,600, 2,800, 2,900, there were times still where I felt like I needed more food, and my body was kind of telling me that. But I'm pretty good at choosing the types of food where they're low calorie, pretty voluminous foods that I could kind of control things. But when we moved the calories to around 3,000 and kind of in its current range, like I feel like plenty of energy. I feel I don't feel hungry. I'm able to space out my meals throughout the day, and I'm also not feeling like I'm stuffing myself as well. I never feel like I'm overeating. I think it's like in a really nice range. But energy wise, I feel like I have so much energy to do things. One of the reasons why I started this transformation was because I felt like I was always in a fog. I didn't have energy to play with my kids. On the weekends, I would spend a lot of time, just resting and recovering and taking naps. And when I'm eating the amount of food that I am and kind of in the physical state that I'm in right now, I can go out, I can ride bikes, I can go for walks with my dogs, and just knowing that I'm providing myself with the nutrients to be able to do that has been really life altering. And as you mentioned a little bit earlier, this really is kind of a lifestyle. And so it's been, keeping that in mind throughout this process has allowed me to keep a lot of focus. And I feel, really great right now about how I'm able to, live my life, be active, and have plenty of energy doing it.
I love it, man. I love it. I always enjoy seeing your kids jump in the room with you. You were such a great role model to them when you're working out. And again, this transformation and them just seeing kind of the energy and the confidence that you exude. A lot of it comes through the process itself. It's not maybe not even so much about how you look, but it's how you feel and knowing that when you set your mind to something that you can achieve it as well. Now you're very diligent with your tracking. You're someone who does enjoy number crunching and all that stuff. You love being a little bit more detailed with the process, paying attention to it all for a good reason. Like you're fascinated, like you want to know like why this is working. And throughout this muscle building process, like you said, you don't want to be gaining excess fat. You can't force feed the muscle gain. So trying to find what's going to work for you throughout this process. But in addition to being very observant with the data that you're recording there, you also have a heightened sense of awareness with how you've been feeling throughout this process. And at the same time, we're also like that heightened sense of awareness. I'm trying to get to even hone it a little bit more and being maybe just a little bit more relaxed with the nutrition, especially when you go out, you're dining out with friends or family. Like, don't stress over the calories in those meals. Enjoy the meal. be more intuitive with it, eat to the point of satisfaction, enjoy yourself, don't stress out over the calorie content. So what has that experience been like for you in regards to kind of at times letting go of some of like the tracking component of it all?
Yeah, it's something that I'm still actively working on, and I definitely see the benefit of this, especially something that's sustainable. I do enjoy, tracking calories. I do enjoy recording metrics. That's something that I like to do. But at the same time, I recognize that there are times that I skip meals going out with my family because I'm worried. At least this was the earlier stage. And then as I started, to talk to you a little bit more, one of the things that I learned is that, relax a little bit, right? Like I don't always have to be so analytical. I don't always have to be precise in terms of what I'm putting into my body. I mean, there's a range, right? So when you're talking about, your cut, it's not this many calories. It's usually kind of a range, right? 20, 2000 to 2100 is the range. Or when you're in a surplus, it's usually just a range, right? It doesn't have to be exactly that number. And so, keeping that in mind, it's something that I'm still working on. But, just the other day, I went out for a nice meal with my family. I recorded things, but I really didn't stress that much in terms of, am I putting too much butter on this piece of bread? Or, is this bowl of crab and lobster chowder bigger than what it's supposed to be? I just enjoyed myself. And that's something that I'm actively working towards. And I think, I'll be able to get there.
Yeah. And I think you get there again through your heightened sense awareness with this process, not being so tied to the numbers. It's a combination of both. You can't just be going by numbers all the time. You got to use those numbers and combine them with your heightened sense of awareness to you'll learn, right? You've got an idea of portion sizes, your satiety levels, how certain food or food combinations make you feel. And then, the goal eventually is to not have to rely on those numbers because you've learned so much throughout your own personal experiences that you can just kind of go with the flow in the moment, trusting yourself, trusting your body there over time. But dude, it's been so much fun watching your process and following this journey along with you. There's so much more I want to dive in with you. But I think I'll just bring you on for another podcast here, especially talking about how you felt at the end of the cut. Because there's moments I know you're kind of like, should I push a little bit deeper? Should I get a little bit leaner? But again, you're at a point where the diet fatigue was kicking in, energy levels were down. So I think it'd be great to get you back on again and talk about your fat loss journey and our decision-making process about ending the cut, moving into maintenance, moving into building, knowing that we can always go back to a cut at a future date. But I'm just really excited, like this 4 months of building that we've been focused on right now, and just seeing how your body has filled out and even balanced out a little bit as well. It's been fantastic. So you are just kicking butt and learning and growing in so many different ways, my man. It's been a real pleasure working with you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you so much for your guidance. I really appreciate it. And looking forward to speaking again about this.
Any final tips before we leave here for the people watching this video right now who are worried or concerned about, like you said, am I going to get fat right away if I bump up my calories, or about this whole process in of itself of shifting from cutting to?
I do. I guess the first thing is, really trust the process, whether it's cutting, being in maintenance, or muscle building, and then also enjoy every step of the way. I think that's something that's really important. When I was in my cutting phase, I enjoyed every single step of it. I enjoyed, the scale weight changing. When I was in maintenance, I enjoyed the workouts. When I'm in the building phase, I enjoyed the strength gains. And I think just, keeping that in mind and keeping that type of mindset is really important, because I didn't want to be like, oh, if I reach this physique goal, then I'll be happy. I've enjoyed every process of this, learning about this, embracing this type of lifestyle, being able to talk to others, being able to learn from you. And I think that's just something to keep in mind. Just, whether you're in a fat loss phase, maintenance phase, or muscle building phase, just really enjoy it. I think, there's so much to learn about this process, how your body responds. It's a lot of fun. And that's something that I'd like other people to consider as well.
Awesome. I love it. And again, we could talk about sharing the process as well. It's great to see, again, not only are you a role model to your kids, but to coworkers, to family and everything as well. So it is great to see how sharing your experience. And again, with the members in the Jacked After 40 Club too, the sharing, it's such I think, a critical component of, again, what brings joy to the process, because you're helping others out and you're just learning. We're learning from each other every step of the way. I'm learning from you throughout the process as well. So much fun. We'll end it there, my man. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today out of your busy schedule. I am so excited to see what you achieve in this coming year. Keep up the great work, my man.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please do me a favor and smash that thumbs up button. I'd really appreciate it. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that alert button so you're notified each time I upload a video. If you know a fellow bro who would benefit from watching today's video, please do me a favor and share it with them. But more than anything, Jeff and I would both love to hear from you down in the comment section below. Share your thoughts, share your insights, share your feedback, share your personal experiences with us. Let us know if any of these insights resonated with you. Before you go, don't forget to download your free guide, Jacked After 40. Have yourself an amazing day. Catch you next video.